The first week of fall always made the campus feel bigger than it really was. Trees glowed with late afternoon light, flyers flapped on bulletin boards, and the sidewalks buzzed with students rushing to classes they were still learning their way to. For Miguel Migs Alonzo, it was the first semester that truly felt like his. He had his backpack slung over one shoulder, a stack of textbooks tucked against his chest. His t-shirt still smelled faintly of laundry detergent from the night before, when he'd done all his washing in one frantic load at the dorm basement. His parents in Quezon City had sent a photo that morning of his younger siblings holding a handwritten sign, "Good luck, Kuya Migs." They were grinning wide, like they believed there was nothing in the world he couldn't do. He believed it too, most days, on good days. He was halfway across the main quad, rehearsing an answer in his head for a question his political science professor had asked last class, when he heard the first sharp shout. "Hey, you, stop right there." At first, he didn't realize the voice was aimed at him. The quad was busy. Someone was always calling out to a friend. But the shout came again, harder this time. "Hey, backpack, hands where I can see them." A cold prickle ran down his spine. He turned. An officer in navy blue uniform was barreling toward him from the sidewalk, jaw clenched, finger already pointed. He wasn't campus security in polo shirts and walkie-talkies. His badge gleamed silver, his belt heavy with a radio and gun. Behind him, a couple of students had already stopped walking. Phones were coming out of pockets like flowers turning toward the sun. Miguel's hands tightened on his books. "Me?" he asked, stupidly. "Yes, you," the officer snapped. His nameplate read Hawkins. He closed the distance in a few long strides, chest heaving like he'd been waiting for something to hit. "Drop the books. Hands up." Miguel's heart was thudding so loud he almost couldn't hear himself think. "What did I do?" he asked, voice catching. "I'm just going to class." "Drop the books." Hawkins' voice rose, each word a shove. Miguel's fingers went numb. The textbooks slipped from his hands, thudding onto the concrete. One flipped open, pages bending. Another landed face down. He lifted his hands, palms out, fingers spread. Students were slowing now, forming a loose circle. Some stood frozen. Others raised their phones with the quick, guilty flick of someone who knows they're about to film something ugly. "I didn't do anything," Miguel said, trying to keep his voice from shaking. "Officer, Where were you 10 minutes ago?" Hawkins barked. He jabbed a finger an inch from Miguel's face. "Don't lie, we got a call. Asian male, green shirt, backpack, seen trying to pull on door handles by the parking lot. That sound familiar?" Miguel blinked. "I came from the library. I have an exam." "Don't play games with me," Hawkins snapped. "You kids think you can wander around, test doors, see what you can get into, and when we show up, suddenly you're just going to class. Not today." "I wasn't testing doors," Miguel insisted, heat rising in his face. "I was looking for the right building. They all look the same. I'm new here." He heard his accent thicken the more nervous he got. Vowels softening, consonants blurring. It always betrayed him when he least wanted it to. Hawkins smirked. "Yeah, I caught that," he said, twisting his voice into a cruel mimicry. "I am new here. Where you from, kid?" Miguel swallowed. Part of him wanted to stay silent, to refuse to give this man anything. Another part remembered every video he'd watched about staying calm around police. "Philippines," he said quietly. "But I live in the dorm. I'm a student." Hawkins snorted. "Sure you are," he said. "Got ID?" "In my pocket," Miguel replied. Can I get it?"
Hawkins moved in closer, thumb brushing the edge of his holster. "Slowly," he said. "Any sudden moves, and this goes very differently, you understand me?" Miguel nodded, throat tight. He lowered one hand inch by inch toward his front pocket. Someone in the crowd whispered, "Oh my God," under their breath. He pulled out his wallet, fingers shaking enough that it almost slipped. Before he could open it, Hawkins snatched it from his hand. "Stay right there," the officer warned. "Don't move." Miguel's hands hovered uncertainly in the air. He could feel his face burning. He focused on the sound of leaves rustling overhead, on the smell of cut grass, anything but the dozens of eyes on him. Hawkins flipped through the wallet with exaggerated impatience. He pulled out a card and held it up, eyebrows climbing. "Student ID," he read. "Miguel Alonso. Political Science. Honors Program." He laughed, short and sharp. "Well, look at you. Fancy." He turned the card so the others could see. "You think this makes you special?" he said. "You think being in some honors club means you don't match a description?" Miguel's chest ached. "I didn't say that," he said. "I'm just saying I'm a student. I live here. I have a midterm next week." His words tumbled over each other, breath coming faster. "Ask the professor. He knows me. I sit in the front row." "What, you want me to go to your little teacher and get a note?" Hawkins sneered. "Dear officer, please excuse Miguel from committing crimes. He has homework." A few uncomfortable chuckles rippled through the crowd, quick and then gone. Most people stayed silent. A girl in a gray shirt lowered her phone long enough to say, "Dude, leave him alone. He literally dropped his books." But her voice was swallowed by the tension. Hawkins stepped even closer, so close Miguel could see the nick on his chin where he'd shaved too fast. "Look at me," the officer ordered. Miguel lifted his eyes. "Do you think you belong here?" Hawkins asked, voice low enough that only those nearest could hear. "Walking around like you own the place? You barely speak English, and you're going to tell me how this campus works?" The words hit harder than the finger had. Miguel's vision blurred with sudden, furious tears. He tasted metal at the back of his mouth, the bitter mix of shame and rage. "My English is fine," he said quietly. "This is my school too." "Not if you're breaking the law, it isn't," Hawkins shot back. "We've had car break-ins all semester. I'm not letting some transfer kid blend in and walk away because he knows how to say midterm." He reached for Miguel's arm, fingers closing around his wrist. Miguel flinched at the sudden grip. "Hey, hey!" a voice called from the edge of the crowd. The circle parted slightly. A man in a dark suit and tie was striding toward them, expression taut with concern. His hair was peppered with gray, and he carried a leather satchel across his chest. Some of the students recognized him immediately. Professor Kenji Sato, chair of the Political Science Department, the one whose classes had wait lists a mile long.
Before we continue the story, let me know what country you're watching from. Hit the like button if you love this story, and please subscribe if you are new to my channel. Let's continue. Hawkins glanced over his shoulder, annoyed at the interruption. "Move along, sir," he said. "Police business." Professor Sato didn't break stride. "That police business is my student," he said. His voice wasn't loud, but it carried. "Miguel, are you all right?" Miguel's throat clenched. "Professor," he managed, I'm okay, I think." Hawkins' eyes narrowed. "You know this kid?" he asked. "I know he's in my 10 a.m. seminar, and he turned in one of the best essays I've read in 5 years," Sato replied. He stopped beside Miguel, close enough that the student could feel the calm presence of him. "I also know he was with me in my office 10 minutes ago, going over his research proposal." A murmur rippled through the crowd. Hawkins' grip on Miguel's wrist loosened slightly. "Is that so?" he said. "We got a call." "I'm sure you did."
Sato said. Vague descriptions tend to make people nervous, but unless Miguel has discovered teleportation, he couldn't have been testing doors in the parking lot while he was 10 floors up with me discussing policing and racial profiling. His gaze sharpened, which is ironically the topic of his paper. Hawkins' mouth opened, then closed. The tips of his ears reddened. "Why didn't he say that?" he muttered. "I tried," Miguel said quietly. "You didn't let me finish." Phones were still recording. The girl in the gray shirt had her mouth set in a hard line now. Someone in the back whispered, "He was in Sato's office. Oh, he is in trouble." Professor Sato turned fully to Hawkins. Up close, he didn't look angry so much as deeply, deeply disappointed. "Officer Hawkins, is it?" he asked, glancing at the nameplate. "I'm Professor Kenji Sato. I'm also the faculty liaison to the university's Police Oversight Committee." He let that sink in for a second. "I'd like to know what, exactly, prompted you to shout at my student in the middle of the quad." Hawkins shifted his weight. "We had a call from a staff member. Said there was a suspicious male near the lot trying doors. Asian, green shirt, backpack. This kid matches that." "And you're certain it was him, not any of the other Asian students on campus wearing green today?" Sato asked. His tone stayed mild, but there was steel underneath. Hawkins glanced around. Now that Sato mentioned it, there were at least 3 other students in green shirts within sight. One of them, a tall white guy, raised his eyebrows pointedly. "The description's the description," Hawkins muttered. "We have to act." "Act, yes," Sato agreed, "but how you act is a choice." He gestured slightly toward Miguel's scattered books. "You could have asked for his ID without yelling. You could have listened when he tried to explain where he'd been. Instead, you escalated, mocked his accent, and made assumptions about whether he belongs here." Hawkins bristled. "With respect, Professor, you weren't here from the beginning." "But my department's cameras were, and your body cam is. I imagine they captured every word." The mention of the body cam made Hawkins' stomach flip. He'd almost forgotten the small, steady eye clipped to his chest. Suddenly, he could hear his own voice in his head. "You barely speak English. You think you belong here." Sato took a half-step closer, lowering his voice just enough that it reached Hawkins clearly, but still carried to the nearby phones. "You know what Miguel and I were discussing in my office, officer?" he asked. "He's writing about how police presence affects students of color on campus, how often they're stopped and questioned compared to their white peers. He was worried his experiences were too small to matter. I told him stories matter because they show patterns." Miguel stared at the professor, startled. He hadn't known Sato remembered their conversation that clearly. Sato continued. "I told him most officers are trying to do the right thing, but that trust is fragile. That one bad interaction can undo 100 good ones." His eyes met Hawkins. "You've just given him a case study." Silence stretched between them. Hawkins felt heat creep up the back of his neck. The weight of dozens of eyes, of cameras, of his own badge pressed down on him. I didn't realize," he said finally, voice rough. "Things have been tense. We've had a lot of calls. I'm just trying to keep people safe. And I appreciate that," Sato said. "Truly. But Miguel is people. Students like him are exactly who you're supposed to be keeping safe, not making afraid to walk across their own campus." Hawkins glanced at Miguel. The kid's shoulders were rigid, jaw tight, but his eyes were clear. Not pleading, just waiting.
The officer felt something twist in his chest that he didn't quite have a name for. Shame, maybe. Or the sick realization that he was about to become the kind of story he always swore people exaggerated. He swallowed. "Look," he said, addressing Miguel directly now instead of talking over him. "I was hard on you. Too hard. I shouldn't have said some of the things I said. That was out of line." Miguel's fingers twitched. "You said I barely speak English," he said quietly. "That I don't belong here." Hawkins flinched. Hearing the words repeated back made them sound even uglier. He glanced at the phones again. There would be no spinning this later. I was wrong, he said. The words came out like gravel. About you, about how I handled it. I'm sorry. Some of the students exchanged looks. The girl in gray actually lowered her phone. Professor Sato nodded once, as if that was the minimum acceptable offering. Miguel, he said softly, do you want to file a formal complaint? You have that right. Miguel hesitated. He thought of his parents, of their constant refrain on video calls. Just keep your head down, anak. Don't make trouble. Focus on your studies. He thought of the knot in his stomach every time he saw a patrol car on the edge of campus. He thought of the topic of his paper, of all the survey responses from other students that made him realize his experiences weren't isolated. Yes, he said, surprising himself with the steadiness of his own voice. I do. Hawkins winced, but nodded. I understand, he said. I'll cooperate. Sato put a hand lightly on Miguel's shoulder. We'll go to the office together after class, he said. You won't do it alone. The crowd began to thin, people drifting away now that the worst seemed over. A few students stepped forward to help Miguel pick up his books. The girl in gray handed him one with a small smile. I got it all, she whispered. If you need the video. Thank you, Miguel said. Hawkins stepped back, suddenly feeling very large in a space that no longer felt as friendly to him as it once had. As he turned to leave, the chief of campus police appeared at the edge of the path, having been summoned by a hurried radio call. She gave Hawkins a long look that said more than any speech. We'll talk later, she said simply. That evening, while most of campus buzzed with talk of midterms and parties, a quieter meeting happened in a small conference room at the police station. Miguel sat at one end of the table, Professor Sato beside him. On the other side sat Hawkins, eyes tired, and the chief, listening. Miguel told the story, this time from start to finish without interruption. He spoke about how it felt when the books left his hands, when the finger was in his face, when the accent he couldn't hide became a punchline. He spoke not just for himself, but for every time he'd heard, "Where are you really from?" said with a smirk. When he finished, Hawkins cleared his throat. I can't undo what I did, but I can learn from it. If you're willing, I'd like to attend your presentation when you finish that paper, even if it's about me. Miguel studied him. He saw the stiffness, the defensiveness, but also something else, the strained sincerity of someone who'd been forced to look in a mirror and didn't quite like what he saw. I'll send you the date, Miguel said. Months later, when Miguel stood in front of a lecture hall presenting his research on campus policing and students of color, Hawkins was there in the back row, out of uniform, taking notes. When Miguel clicked to the slide about the quad incident, the video paused on Hawkins' angry face and Miguel's raised hands, but the last frame showed something else too. A professor striding forward and a ring of students who hadn't looked away. Miguel talked about harm and accountability, about how change wasn't just policies, but choices made in heated seconds. He didn't soften the story, but he also didn't end it on the worst moment. Trust can be rebuilt, but only if people in power are willing to be uncomfortable when they're wrong. In the back, Hawkins shifted. The words stung, but he stayed. He listened. On the walk back across the quad afterward, the late afternoon light looked the same as it had that day, golden, warm, filtering through leaves. Miguel's books were held firmly in his own hands this time. As he passed the spot where they'd once hit the pavement, he took a breath that felt a little easier. He still had exams, still had rent,
still had a whole life to figure out. But he also had a voice that had been heard, a professor who had stepped in, and a story that now belonged to him.
Thank you for watching to our Badge and Justice stories. If you want to watch more stories like this, click the videos above. See you again tomorrow.